How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome to my top 3 builds for Blight League. Now, I'm going to be doing a bunch of these in the coming future. I'm going to be working on like 3 or 4. And this one is going to be showcasing builds that I believe are going to work very well with the League mechanic. So I have 3 builds for you today. One that is a Necromancer, because of course Necro is getting changed and all this new sort of stuff. But I have a Necro build that is pretty much foolproof no matter what the changes will be. Now, I am going to be recording this before the changes and before the patch notes because of personal reasons. I won't have internet when the league launches, so I'm going to get these done beforehand. Most of this you can probably transition very easily into whatever the changes will be, and I have planned around that. This is a Necromancer currently that uses 2 uniques because we can get some very massive power and some rather hilarious content out of it. Now, I'm going to be giving you a very brief gameplay showcase just in Blood Aqueducts to show you how the build functions. All of these builds have cleared up to tier 14, 15-ish. I play solo self-found, so getting up to higher tiers does take a lot of time sometimes. But yeah, so let's cover our little Soul Rest Necromancer here that runs off of 2 uniques. So this is a life-based character. You can quite easily take it ES as well. When I was planning this up, I hadn't really experimented with ES as much, but you can do that very, very easily. You can get like 5k plus ES on this character without really struggling too much. And the biggest thing is just getting as much minion percent as possible. We've got extra minions here. We've got minion damage, minion life. Go out the minion damage side. Got to get a little bit of extra stats to be able to wield the Soul Rest because it's a strength-based staff, so do keep that in mind. Get some Abyssal Jewels for minion damage if you can roll that correctly. Some life up through here. And minion instability because your minions will be dying very often because they're going to be resummoning all the time. So as a result, minion instability pops whenever they die and get resummoned, which is a bit of extra damage. We come down, we get Redemption and Spiritual Aid to make the minion bonuses affect you. Not that that really does much in this case, but it's extra minion damage anyways. I get a bit of extra life, and then we come down to Retribution, get more attack and minion damage, and then some more life. Come down here, get Grave Pact for more damage, and then a little bit of life over here, and some life down here. Basically, as much minion damage as you can get. Get Might for the bonus strength to be able to wield the staff, or get it on items as well. The 2 uniques that make this build work is the Soul Rest and the Bubonic Trail. I almost said Bubonic Plague, but that's an entirely different thing. The reason these work so well is that Bubonic Trail here triggers level 20 Death Walk when equipped. Now, what does Death Walk do exactly? It consumes a corpse whenever you step over it, which heals you for, I believe, 5% of your max life and 5% of max mana, or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. But where is that synergy going to come in? Well, you see, with Soul Rest, it triggers level 20 Summon Phantasm when you consume a corpse. You consume a corpse by walking over the corpse. Now, the rest of these items, you can kind of supplement pretty much whatever you want. I have a Seed Breath, a Bone Helmet, that sort of stuff. I'd look for any minion damage you can get. You can get a minion damage glove enchant from Betrayal as well. Look for those sorts of things. And of course, with the new Necromancer changes coming up, you can get the bonus damages and the undead charges and all that sort of stuff. I only have 2 points in this character right now. I have Puppet Master and Invoker. Obviously, this entire thing might change with the upcoming patch. So, let me show you how this build pretty much operates. Now, I just booted up the game, so I apologize if it lags, but that's just going to be how it goes. This is an automated Necromancer build that I created in my free time and had a very good time with. I put it on one of my previous characters in Standard League and was able to clear, I believe, like tier 14 just without actually working on it. I just put the uniques on it and we were good to go. So you drop your Desecrate, step over all your corpses, and you just start spawning minions. Now, where this gets even more interesting is you run down and you teleport all your minions to you, and of course they're going to keep killing things. But you see, when your minions kill things, you're walking over the corpses, right? So it's permanently automated, and will keep you at 20 minions pretty much forever. Now, this is done with, as I said, literally 2 uniques. This is why I love Path of Exile. Obviously, this is Blood Aqueducts, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But I promise you it has cleared very high, and it has a bit of mitigation for dealing with bosses as well, because you have Desecrate. So, because of Desecrate, you can spawn corpses and minions pretty much on the go. So you're just pressing Convocation to pull your Spectres to you, or your Phantasms to you, which is another reason I like this build so much, because Convocation works with it, which allows you to literally pull your minions into position to take out whatever target you'd like. One of my personal favorite builds, and I still need to do like an actual in-depth video on it, because it is one of my personal favorites. When I dropped a Soul Rest, this was immediately what I kind of went to. I was like, okay, how do I make this work? And I had a Bubonic Trail drop at the same time, and well, you know, fate ensued. So that is my automated Soul Rest Necromancer, and the path of building to that will be in the description. It doesn't show the damage correctly on here for whatever reason. It says like the DPS doesn't really count, but if I remember right, it mathed out to about 1 to 2 million DPS ish, because, you know, you got to factor in each minion's doing like 100k, and we have 20 minions, so you can see where the math adds up. Alright, onwards to the second character. We have my Shockwave Totem Chieftain. Yeah. Now, there are some changes to Chieftain recently with the Totem stuff, so you could work that in as well. Let me just pop in here so we can load that up in the background. There have been some changes to Chieftain. You can potentially, well, I was going to say maybe you can make Berserker work with the aspect of Carnage, but I don't think it's really that worth it. Now, Shockwave Totem is going to sound a little bit weird, but allow me to explain why. Of course, it is tower defense, right? So you have lanes the enemies come down. Now, this build operates around, I believe it's 3 totems. Now, if you use a Soul Mantle, you can have 4. I don't know exactly how many lanes there are in the tower defense mode, but if there's around 3 to 4, you can cover every lane with a totem. Now, if you play multi-totem support, you can drop like 7 or 8 of them, something like that. And so with that, you can pretty much cover every lane depending on how close they are together. And as a result, any sort of totem build is going to shine. My personal favorite is my Shockwave Totem, because it's kind of an off-the-wall type of character, and I've recommended Ancestral Warchief so many times that I figured it was time to change things up. Ancestral Warchief will work just as well. I do have many Warchief builds on the channel, revolving around Phase Breakers primarily, if you're looking for something like that. But this is a sort of off-the-wall build that I had a lot of fun with. This character got to, I believe, 14 or 15 without any struggle at all, and it was very tanky as well. So we start down out Marauder here, get the totem damage, get the jewel, and try and get a totem damage jewel and cast speed in there if you can. This gem scales up a lot with cast speed. Get the extra life there, come up, get Holy Dominion because I'm playing solo self-found, get some AoE, get some cast speed and spell damage. It scales off spell damage, which is a little odd, but I've done all the hard work for you. So come up here, get some life, pop over here and get spell damage and cast speed, because cast speeds are very good for damage. Pop over here and get blast radius for AoE, as much AoE as possible if you can. Get elemental overload, because you will be doing a very small amount of crits, and that will be triggering your AoE overload. Cast speed, Avatar of Fire to fully convert you to fire damage, so you don't have to worry about Fizz Reflect or anything like that. And then you come down and get Divine Judgment and all the elemental stuff over here. And I grabbed Spiritual Aid, because this is a very old trick that I was using back in that league to get a little bit of extra damage. You don't really need to do this anymore, because you can get just as much damage now, but still. And then we get Ancestral Bond combined with a Shaper's Shield to give you +1 number of summoned totems. If you use a Soul Mantle, you can get an extra one and have 4 total totems. And with that, that's pretty much most of the build. The one that I've got is spell damage and fire damage and added fire to spells. Obviously, I would want spell, hybrid spell, and then added fire to spells, I believe. But it didn't roll perfectly because SSF life. The rest of my gear is pretty much filler. I got Hrimnors for increased fire damage, and flammability enchant, which is quite nice. Go for the Shockwave enchant, obviously if you can manage it. And the rest of it is pretty much filler. It's pretty much excess filler gear. So, and then Wind Screams for an extra curse, so you can get extra elemental damage in there. So, let me show you how this fella operates. It's pretty much a standard totem character, but nonetheless, it is very effective and very enjoyable. Alright, now, this character, I used to farm quite a bit of Shaper stuff because I, of course, play solo self-found. So I had to do a lot of farming to get the Shaper shield, but I'll tell you what, it was very worth it. Obviously, it's a totem character, which isn't for everyone, but it does a lot of work. The only problem that I ended up having with this character is it has some mana problems, but I was able to solve that by using a hybrid flask or Warbringer. You could potentially go that way if you decide to play Berserker for whatever reason. That was a concept I had at one time or another. Also, this character that I'm playing right now has a Soul Mantle on, which means I can put 4 totems up and do a shit ton of damage and a ton of AoE. But the way you mitigate Soul Mantle is you have a curse removal flask. So my Onslaught flask down here makes me immune to curses, so I can mitigate Soul Mantle pretty much entirely. I forgot I had Ironheart's loot filter on. My bad. That was a little loud. But yeah, you can see basically how things go. It's a totem build. That is how it is. The clear speed's a little bit slower, but the damage is definitely up there. And for wave defense, totems are just going to be all around exceptional. So that is my totem character. That is Shockwave Totems. The link for that to a video and to the build will be in the description down below. You don't have to play Shockwave necessarily. However, I do recommend playing some sort of totem character if you don't really know what you want to play, because totems are going to be exceptional for wave defense modes. And to round us out, we have a character that I don't really have any gameplay for. I haven't made it or played it yet. However, any form of this character is going to do very well for you in Blight League. That is a bow ranger, to put it simply. I have a burning arrow ranger here that the items are, it's very highly itemized and fully rigged up, as I'm sure you can see. But realistically, all you need for this character is a chin soul and a signal fire to be able to do very good damage, because this character is scaled off of Chin Soul's fire damage and being at close range, combined with point blank to get a ton of damage, as I'm sure you can see. This is also a Deadeye that will be moving very, very quickly. I plan to personally rig up a Puncture Ranger because I want to experiment with that sort of thing, but I do also want to play this character at some point. This character is based in like crit Burning Arrow type of thing, and trust me when I say Vol Burning Arrow is just really satisfying. It makes a bunch of shit explode on your entire screen. If you've never played it before, I very highly recommend it. If not for just leveling for a little bit. Slap multiple projectiles on there and just blow shit up. It's pretty good. It's really good for leveling because you can just detonate bosses over and over with like 3 dumps of Vol Burning Arrow. But yeah, so any form of Deadeye Ranger in this case will do very exceptionally for you, because of course, think about how tower defense modes work. You've got all the lanes, right? So if you stand in the center and you're playing a bow-based ranger, you can shoot all around you and kill pretty much everything. A lot of us expected bow changes to be coming this league, but in my opinion, bows are where Path of Exile should be in general. So they kind of realized that and didn't go about changing any of the bow stuff or any of the ranger stuff, and that is a very good thing because bows are exceptional and they will be very, very good for Blight League as well. So to showcase the skill tree a little bit, it's kind of standard ranger. We get as much projectile damage as possible, bit of extra life, more projectile damage there, movement speed because of course Deadeye is very, very fast. We get a Jewel slot and Frenzy charges because we're going to be running Blood Rage for bonus attack speed and that sort of stuff. We get Deadly Draw as well as extra damage and chance to bleed, but because we're converted fully fire, we aren't going to be bleeding at all. Stay tuned for a Puncture Ranger build in the future. Get some elemental damage down here and some bow crit. We have a very good amount of crit here. Some extra life, some more life, and then point blank. Point Blank and Chin Soul do actually stack. Now this Chin Soul is corrupted with Culling Strike. Obviously it's fully rigged up. But the Chin Soul passive, which is now a little bit more nerfed than this one, does stack with Point Blank. So if you're playing any form of build like that, this character is very good for delving, because, you know, enemies are always in your face. Those do stack, so feel free to abuse the shit out of that to get some very high damage at close range. That works for, I believe it's a lightning arrow or a shrapnel shot, whichever one does the cone in front of it. There's like a threshold jewel for it. That works as well. Then we get King of the Hill for critical strikes and knocks back enemies if you get a crit with a bow. Kind of redundant, but at the same time, that little bit of knockback can save your life for melee enemies sometimes. Or chain knockback bosses as well if you get good crit chains. Over here we've got a little bit of accuracy and projectile damage, a frenzy charge, and then a jewel up here, and a little bit of life over here. Moving upwards we have elemental damage, max life and a little bit of evasion, some crit strike, a frenzy charge, life and life leech to make you pretty much unkillable, because look at this average damage number. And another jewel, as well as some attack and intelligence there to put gems on. And then life and life gained on kill. Flat % life on kill is exceptional, by the way. This thing is rigged up with a fucking combs and the whole nine. But if you can manage a chess piece, I think it's Elder chess piece, with % life on kill, if you're delving or doing any sort of fast-paced, highly paced content with like this sort of clear speed and this sort of damage, you will never die. I was playing a Caustic Arrow Deadeye at one point that had that exact chess piece, and it never died, let's be honest. As you're killing a bunch of enemies and you're regenerating 5% per kill, you don't have anything to really worry about in that case. Obviously, in SSF that's a little harder to do, to roll it well, but if you're in Trade League, just buy one. Just buy one, and that'll solve most of your survivability problems. Even so, this character has rather decent life. But yeah, that is the build. Ascendancy-wise, we go for Rupture for a bunch of crit strike. Gathering Winds, because Tailwind, obviously, one of the best parts of playing Deadeye. Then we get Fast and Deadly for accuracy rating, projectile damage, and attack speed. And then Powerful Precision to make the projectiles pierce to save us the gem slot. But yeah, that is going to round out this episode of top 3 builds for Blight League. These are pretty much my favorite builds, and they are going to work very well regarding the mechanic. You guys saw the Soul Rest Necro. That was one of my favorite creations. You know when you start making something, and then it just clicks, right? And you think you're an absolute fucking genius. That's pretty much what happened with that build, and I'm glad to finally be able to share it, and I hope you guys do enjoy that one, as well as the Shockwave Totem character that I've had a lot of fun with. I put many hours into that character, and it's really satisfying just watching the totems just blow shit up. It's great. And then, finally, any form of just ranged ranger, I suppose. Any form of Deadeye is going to be very effective. Even Pathfinder, a Herald of Agony type Pathfinder, I kind of want to make one with Cobra Lash as well, even though it's more for assassin type thing. So stay tuned for that when I do get access to all of the new updated stuff. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed the builds. And as always, take care, gentlemen. I shall see you in the next one.